Now the sensitive reader, and this is on page 15, the sensitive reader can detect the enthusiasm and the relief captured in Nephi's words as he wrote of the group's arrival on the shore of the Indian Ocean. After a journey of some 2,100 miles across Arabia, see 1 Nephi 17 verse 6. Hope you can hear me above this wind. Maybe I ought to try to see if I can get more away from the wind so that you can hear it easier. They emerged into a place full of trees, is what Nephi says, and other vegetation, some bearing edible fruit, a discovery that would impress anyone after 8 years of desert life, of course. In fact, much fruit was the very reason Bountiful was so named, according to 1 Nephi 17, 5 and 6. Clearly the group was also impressed with the vast ocean panorama before them, kind of like I'm impressed with this panorama of Yellowstone Lake. It's a pretty big lake. It's quite huge. Nephi recorded the proper name for the ocean, Iriantum, and I have some analysis on this I'll share with you also, meaning many waters, 1 Nephi 17:5, and for which a plausible South Arabian origin has recently been suggested. Again, there are legitimate, real-world candidates for these types of things in the Book of Mormon record. Very impressive. Aston discusses the various criteria that are going to be necessary in order for this place to be bountiful. I'm going to try to stand a little closer so you can hear me. I'm trying to get a shot of this lake as well. It's windy today, lots of waves, many waves. Yeah, it's nearly eastward from Nahum, which this bountiful area in Oman is. We should expect Bountiful to be close to the 16th north parallel latitude, and it is. It's less than 1 degree off. It's very impressive. Straight east. And you got it. It should be accessible from the interior, and it is. The terrain had to prevent reasonable access from the interior deserts to the coast. Something impossible at some places along the Arabian coast, but at Khor Karfat and Khor Rori, you have that accessibility. It had to have surrounding fertility. Khor Karfat does. It had to have a sheltered location, and those sheltered locations certainly are there. It had to have much fruit and wild honey. Now this is interesting. Much fruit and wild honey. I'm going to turn this while I keep talking. Much fruit and wild honey. The one thing the explorers have noted was all the honeybees. All of the honeybees and the incredible range of fruits, the figs, the date palms, so on and so forth. Everything fits the description as Nephi said. The cliffs above the ocean has been harvested for the wild honey now for millennia, and there was an abundance of wild honey. You got to remember they had newborn babies with them, so this sweetness, this much fruit, this bounty was absolutely delicious to them. Yes, that's why they made such a big deal about it, because only on the coast of Oman and Yemen can you find such a place. They show in the satellite photography of Arabia, the one area that was green from the satellite photograph was Khor Karfat, with all the lush vegetation and the trees. He said there had to be shipbuilding timber, and there was. There's enough timber of types and sizes to permit building an ocean-going vessel. There had to be year-round fresh water, and there is an abundance of fresh water in Wadi Sheikh, as well as the river. Some of the streams coming down them are like 20 and 30 feet wide. It's pretty impressive stuff. There had to be a nearby mount. Interestingly enough, on the bay at Khor Karfat on the east side is a huge mountain. It had 200-foot tall cliffs, easily where Nephi's brothers could have thrown him off to kill him. And he mentioned that they tried to kill him by throwing him in the ocean. Those cliffs are there, and this mount is big enough that Nephi could have gone and prayed to the Lord. Even the mountain is there. in this bay. Then there had to be cliffs, there had to be ore and flint. There's such a thing they call chert, that you can strike together and produce fire, and it's absolutely littered all over the place here at Khor Karfat. Plus, they found the 2 deposits of iron ore, not copper ore. William Revel Phelps discusses this really interestingly. It wasn't copper ore, it was iron ore. And his description of it will astound you. It's so interesting. And then it had to be relatively unpopulated, which it was, and then they had to have access to the ocean, which they did. All of these criteria Nephi lists, and the coast of Oman at Khor Karfat match that description. Pretty impressive when you have a 100% match of the record and the physical description of the place. 100%. Nothing is missing and nothing is contradicted in that description. There's the view that I'm seeing and enjoying while I'm talking to you. There's the Yellowstone Lake. I found a real nice little tree here to sit on. Gonna see if I can sit here and talk to you some more. Kind of a comfortable little spot. Raise that just a little bit. It's awful windy, so I took my hat off. I'm gonna lose my hat if I'm not careful. Now, continuing with this Journal of Book of Mormon Studies issue, Warren Aston, he says this about the description of the bountiful land on the coast of Oman, the only coast in Saudi Arabia that has these criteria, which was completely unknown in Joseph Smith's day. It's largely unknown right now today. This has only been discovered in the last 20 years. On page 16, he says, such a detailed and a comprehensive description of a locale is unique in the Book of Mormon narrative. While it's true that archaeologically only inscriptions could definitely establish that a group lived at a specific location so long ago, from a scriptural perspective, the plausibility of the many specific requirements for bountiful that are embedded in Nephi's record has been clearly established by describing in such precise detail a particular location in Arabia, together with the route to get there, specific directions, and even a place name en route. Joseph Smith put his prophetic credibility very much on the line. Could this young, untraveled farmer in upstate New York in 1830 somehow have known from maps or writings about a burial place called Nahom and a fertile site on the coast of Arabia? When the holdings of libraries that Joseph Smith and his contemporaries could have had access to before 1830 are examined, the answer is clearly no. Long after the 1830 publication of the Book of Mormon, maps of Arabia continued to show the eastern coastline and interior as mostly unknown and unexplored territories. Even quite modern maps misplace place names and ignore or distort the major terrain features that are there now. Not one of the explorers of Arabia in the past centuries explored the Qamar coast west of Salalah. In fact, the location in Arabia was most closely mirroring Nephi's bountiful. It remained unknown to the outside world for over 160 years after the Book of Mormon has been published. Then, during my first visit in Oman in 1987, it soon became apparent that the 60-mile wide Salalah Bay in southern Oman failed to fully match the description of bountiful preserved in 1 Nephi. So they kept looking, and that's where they found Khor Karfat. The whole area for 60 miles is a fertile region because of the cliffs that raise up, some of them a couple thousand feet. They capture the moisture from the ocean, and then it rains, and there's lots of mist there. So it's a very fertile, abundant region. So in the process, you notice how he honestly says, if it doesn't fit, then we can't go with that. So then they keep looking, and they find the other area. Boy, it's awful windy. It's blowing my journal everywhere.